happy for a people doing her best to become totally independent from the West? How can you not be happy for a continent which is trying to develop? We have so much talent, we have so much raw materials lying that is not being used. How can you not be happy with the people trying to utilize their God given talents? Oh, are you scared? Or is there something you're not telling us? Is it not enough that you stole our raw materials right from ancient time, enslaved us, ruled us, and reduced us to puppets even in our own fatherland? Is it not enough that you've ruled us directly and now indirectly? My loves, let's take a look at this video, then we continue from there.
It's not a secret that the West is not happy with the fact that African countries are shifting away from partnering with them and turning to non-Western partners, particularly Russia. However, in recent times, there has been one Western country that has been increasingly vocal even more than the others about the presence of Russia in Africa. This country is none other than France, the former colonial master of more than 14 African countries. And there is only one word that can describe France's attitude towards the presence of Russia in Africa, and that word is jealousy. France, particularly its president Emmanuel Macron, is aggravated that while France has been kicked out of the Sahel region, Russia was welcomed with open hands. You see, when President Macron came into power, he saw himself as a man on a mission to restore France's greatness and lead the rest of Europe. And as you know, the only way to achieve this has to be to maintain its hold on its former African colonies. After all, these colonies were the sole factor that pushed France to attain its global power status. This was why, when President Macron first came to power in 2017, one of the first things he did was to give a speech saying that France no longer has an African policy, all in a ploy to make Francophone Africa believe that France had changed. From 2017, the president supposedly tried to change France's policy towards Africa, but obviously all his efforts failed because by 2020, anti-French sentiments had begun to spread and the first coup occurred in Mali, which eventually led to French forces being kicked out of the country. Then came 2022, when yet another coup occurred in Burkina Faso, which brought Captain Traoré to power and led to French forces leaving the country. It was at this point that President Macron began to understand that his so-called different policy in Africa had failed. And so in February 2023, he went on a tour to 4 African countries where he outlined a new strategy for Africa. During the tour, he said that France's attitude towards Africa should be marked not by military presence, but by humility. And so, in the coming months, there will be a reduction of its military presence in Africa. However, this tour and his speech were not enough to stop the coup which occurred in Niger and again led to French forces leaving the country. The coup in Niger was a very big blow to France and President Emmanuel Macron because it left only Chad as the country in the Sahel, where France still has some kind of influence, but even that is shaky because recent news revealed that Chad is seeking diplomatic relations with Russia. The loss of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso is perceived by the French establishment as a grievous loss in presumed global power. And it's particularly aggravating for President Macron because it was in his time that France lost hold of its former colonies. And it's particularly embarrassing for him because Macron from the beginning projected himself as a French leader who is different from his predecessors and wants to approach the French-Africa relationship differently.
Is it not enough that we don't have freedom to do things ourselves? Is it not enough that every of our stuff is being taken? Is it not enough that we've served you for as long as you ever imagine? Now you don't want this continent to be set free. What really is the agenda? What really is the plan? What really is it with Africans that you are not telling us? Is there something that God has revealed to you about this continent that you don't want us to be aware of? But the shocking news is that Africa is awakening. And we are hopeful because we are seeing a bright future. We are hopeful because the younger generation will become agents of transformation and change. We are hopeful because our parents lived in ignorance, but we are enlightened and will continue to enlighten ourselves until we break from every shackle that makes us puppets in the hands of those who are supposed to guide and help us. So, my loves, leave your thoughts, your views in the comment section.